right now, the Democrats have a very, very, very slim majority or control, right? They don't technically have the Senate, but the tiebreaker goes to the Democrats, so they do have that power, but they can't break the filibuster. So not only that, they have to convince Manchin of everything, and he's a West Virginia Democrat, so it's hard for them to move. They do have the House, and there have been Republican defectors, like on the January 6th Commission, so they do have that. However, it seems like things are really bad. So they're saying, but inflation's going to make everyone's wages go. I read this article. They were like, don't be scared of inflation. It means your wage will go up. And I'm like, wow, preying on the ignorant. Your wage will go up after the cost of everything else goes up and your savings is decimated.
It's a tax on everybody.
And then, this is what's funny about Joe Biden saying, no, you make less than $400,000. You know, not a penny in taxes. Bad at healthcare. So he says that. But what? And then all of these, lefty socialists say, see, he's not taxing us. And then he goes, I'm going to print $6 trillion.
Yeah.
And that is a tax on all of these people. He's taking your savings by printing this money. The value of your money goes down.
Yes.
So your wage will go up after the fact, after they've taken your savings through indirect means. And a lot of people, they don't realize it. So because of these things, we've so let me just list some problems with the Democrats right now. I self-reflect. I'm looking at all the Biden stuff, and I'm like, do I have Biden derangement syndrome? Like, was I just tribalistically like Trump's not that bad? Now Biden's and Biden's bad. Okay. I've tried to give Biden credit on things, he sped up the vaccine rollout, and I was like, okay, if he's increasing the timeline and it's working, I'll say it's a good thing, right? If it's an improvement. Because I try to. I want to make sure I'm not just screeching it. However, he reopened the Homestead facility, which is the migrant children, expanding the McAllen facility. Kids are sleeping in dirt. Now, I'm not going to blame him for these kids because he's got it. But he is also the guy who ended Trump's Remain in Mexico policy, which is causing the pull factor. He's now smuggling children, his administration, in the dead of night to other states. You've got the policy in Syria, the missile strikes, the movement of soldiers, the funding of groups with Israel and Palestine, just exacerbating everything, a breakdown of Middle Eastern relations, hyperinflation, the unemployment benefits, the mass spending of money. And I'm like, man, this guy really is torching everything. So maybe it will be enough that come 2022, people vote for the America First Republicans. Because I'll say two things. First, maybe a lot of people are disillusioned by the whole system and are going to walk away. But maybe that will inspire a bunch of non-traditional Republicans to run, probably like you, to be like, America first, let's fix this country, let's do better. Because I'm not a fan of the Republican Party.
No, neither am I. And I think a big mistake that Republicans could make is think that they can stop the America First movement. Because if they go and they throw their money behind traditional candidates, the base that got Trump his victory, they're just not going to come out and vote. It'd be a huge mistake for the Republicans to make the mistake to think that people are loyal to the Republican Party. Like, they're not. They were loyal to Trump. They were loyal to America First. And it wasn't just Trump. I mean, there were some people who were, they love Trump, and I like the guy a lot too, and I think he was a great president, but it's not about a cult of personality. It's about the set of values that he put forward. And I think if the Republican Party doesn't fully embrace those, they're going to get taken over by America First eventually, but they could really screw up in this critical period that we're at right now.
There are a lot of people that, live and die by Trump. They scream Trump. They love Trump. They have Trump flags. And there are a lot of people who voted for him who are like, well, he believes in this country. It's the best we got.
Exactly. Yeah. And he's willing to fight back against the permanent ruling class. Like, if you just have a career politician go in there, had we picked anybody else that was on that stage in 2016, it would have been the continuation of the Bush-Obama era and the Uniparty.
Yeah. So, how amazing is it that, how many countries on the planet are their own country second? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, right.
So it's funny how the idea of America First gets smeared, and I'm confused by that.
Right.
It's also how they smeared the idea of populism. I was always confused by that. I remember when it first came out, and they were like, these populists are bad and it's dangerous. And I was like, what are they trying to say? I'm confused. What do they mean by that?
Right.
And then I'm like, wait, are they literally saying the will of the people is bad? Like, when the people are having a democratic election in their constitutional republic, that's not a good thing, and the elites should be in charge by virtue of them being elites?
Yes.
That's literally what they were saying. And it was confusing to me. And then I was like, wait. They literally mean popular. They mean like the regular people are like, hey, this is how we want things to be run. I think there's certainly some arguments in that, we criticize the Democrats because they're trying to get everyone possibly to vote.
Right.
So they want 16-year-olds voting who have no political experience. So certainly in that respect, okay, I can understand the argument, but I'm still not going to vote for a Wall Street banker by virtue of him being rich.
Exactly.
That's the most ridiculous idea ever. So you get Trump, but now you're starting to see more and more politicians who are like, we're going to do right by America, then we can focus on everything else. What's amazing to me is you get on a plane. What do they say? Secure your own face mask before securing the face mask of those sitting next to you. And we're in a country that during a pandemic, when our businesses were locked down, the omnibus spending bill was sending tax dollars to other countries.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Billions.
What was it? It was more than billions,
Probably
wasn't it?
Trillions, yeah. I mean,
we had 12 million to like Pakistani gender studies,
yeah.
How does that? I would rather give 12 random Americans $12 million than send it overseas because at least it'll stay in the economy.
100%, yeah.
But it's because of the petrodollar, because they want these other countries using the dollar to maintain that system.
And those dollars make their way back into politicians' pockets through lobbyists and special interests and super PACs, and like it's a whole fixed system, and and it's not serving the American people.
I talk about living in the pod and eating the bugs and all that stuff. I've got no problem. I've said this all the time. If I get banned, I'm going to get in my van, drive down to the river, and just go fishing. Just mind my own business. I am very happy to just be sitting there every day looking up at the stars in a little tent, get a dog or whatever. I don't need much to be happy. And I think about America first, and the idea to me sounds like a lot of hard work. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are going to be doing a lot of hard work to support themselves. I think it sounds really good for the environment because what the current system, you know how insane the current system is? Skateboards. I mentioned this several times. You want to get a skateboard in the United States, here's what they do. They chop a tree down in Canada, send it to China, turn it into a skateboard, send it to California.
With a tariff, right?
Yeah, with all these tariffs. Why do that? That's terrible for the environment.
Insane.
Why not just have a guy in Pacific Northwest cut down a tree, turn it into a skateboard, and then put it on a truck and send it to you?
Yeah, exactly.
Cut waste. So when I hear about this idea of like bring the factories back, get Americans back to work, we'll be working. We probably won't be the biggest name, the wealthiest on the planet. You're not going to have 12 new iPhones every year, but you're going to have what you need. You're going to be responsible for what you produce. You're going to be happy with it.
Yep.
Instead, we have the opposite. We have entitlement. People who just get they want stimulus checks. They live in big cities. They work at BuzzFeed where they get paid tons of money to write articles about nonsense.
Yep.
I'm not a fan of that.
I really see this fourth turning in effect. Are you familiar with the fourth turning and how like every generation people become distanced from the past? You know, that people they're so soft that they have this I don't know air of like assumption or this like belief like they're owed things and peace and prosperity and like that doesn't like accidentally happen. That's
right. Yeah. They're it's been ingrained. Look, I have this story about my buddy. He started a company. He was trying to hire people. He kept hiring college grads. I'll give you the short version. And they kept screwing up. And he was like, I went through, hired 2 people. They screwed up. I hired 2 more people. They screwed up. I hired 2 more people. And I'm like, I can't afford to keep doing this. These people can't do the job. So then finally he hired some high school dropouts. Yeah. They got like the GEDs or something. But they had moved from, I think, like Utah to California or Iowa to become actors. And he said these guys were perfect. And then he realized they took the initiative to leave where they live, to go seek, their riches and their adventure, and they were self-starters. When he went to people who had college degrees, what he found was these were people who just did what they were told. Yep. So they couldn't solve any problems when a problem was presented. Yep. And then he realized, like, not only do I save money, but these people are more capable. I see these people going to college, not because they're pursuing a passion, but because they were told they have to.
Yep.
So now for me, I typically look for, I don't care if you have a degree or not. I care if you have a portfolio, you're passionate, and you can prove it.
Yeah, exactly. I think what happened with the greatest generation was they went through so much hardship and so much adversity in the war. They fought it collectively together. They all fought it so much that they didn't need to come home and talk about it and dwell on it. But they also had stuff to do. We had this whole production industry while the war was going on because we had to have it. And then Americans just fell in on that production industry, went to work and built the country that we had. And I think that the byproduct of that was the boomers, and the boomers had this horrible experience with foreign intervention in Vietnam. And so if you didn't want to go to Vietnam, what'd you do? You went to college. And so this whole industry got produced around, hey, like all the smart kids go to college, the dumb kids join the military, kind of spitting in the face, a little bit of rebellion too at the boomers who, not the boomers, the greatest generation who took service very, very seriously. And so now the byproduct of that is we have there's no collective identity of Americans. We didn't collectively all go through something, and then you throw in the whole college aspect too, where the divide is now class. The people that were smart enough to go to college to really learn how to follow instructions properly and get indoctrinated, because the leftists infiltrated the colleges a long time ago. And then the rest of the country, who those production jobs, they all got killed, so they're disenfranchised. Then you have the opioid epidemic, and you have all these young men just looking for purpose.
I think a lot of these city-dwelling, college-educated individuals don't realize that what they do only exists because of the rural labor market, the farmers particularly, people who work in agriculture. It's really incredible how that is the backbone of this country. I mean, there's no food without these people. So you want to work in a lab, you want to work in a university, get your grant. Well, your grant only works because you can go and buy food because someone made that food.
Yeah.
They don't get it. So what happens is we have this system. People go to college. They say, going to college is your ticket to a better future. They tell their kids, you'll get a better job.
Just get a degree.
Just get a degree, whatever it is.
Anything.
And now these kids have, liberal arts degrees.
Follow your passion.
Philosophy, I believe it or not, people do get degrees in folklore and mythology.
Sure, yeah.
But what are you going to do to sustain the system? Nothing.
Yeah.
These degrees don't do anything. So you end up with a lot of people who have a lot of useless degrees, many who have changed their majors, but still demand higher salaries because they
think they're entitled to it.
They did what they were. Yeah, exactly. I did what I was told. I deserve it. Give it to me. Now here's the best part. These kids who are all graduating, and the adults, the millennial adults nearing their 40s who have this massive debt, are now the highest income earners in the country, demanding the working class pay their debts off.
Yeah, that's right.
Is this how often has that happened in history where the ultra rich demand the poor? I shouldn't say ultra rich, but where the wealthier class demands the government tax the poor to pay off their dets.
No, it's a recipe for disaster.
Is there going to be a revolt? Are the working class people going to step up and be like, I am not paying your debts? Your salary. Some of these people, they get jobs at $50,000 a year to write articles for BuzzFeed.
Right.
There are people at BuzzFeed who make six figures. They do really, really well. I mean, it's a legit company. They make a lot of stuff. But how is it that you can write, 3 or 4 articles per day about whatever nonsense? Here's a picture of a bunch of cats, and you'll get paid more money than a guy who's fixing your sewer.
Yeah.
That to me is incredible.
It's
that's a
insane.
problem with our economy. I've always felt this way since I was a kid. I always thought, why is it that baseball players get paid more than doctors?
Yeah.
Shouldn't doctors get paid a lot more?
Right.
Well, whatever your opinion is on that, I'm sure a lot of people say, well, the market pays. The market pays.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. Right now, you have people who are dredging through sewers, pulling out rat kings. You know what a rat king is? When all the rats get stuck together and they clog pipes, and you pull them out, their tails are all tied in knots. Yeah, there are people who have to put on. I knew a guy growing up. His stepdad would put on a full bodysuit and go into 5 feet of sewage and be trying to stick their hand in and clear out pipes. And there's needles and stuff, and that person gets paid less than some 24-year-old with a degree sitting in an office in New York writing articles about, here's 5 pictures of hamsters that'll make you laugh.
Yeah.
That system to me makes no sense and will be unsustainable once the working class, the labor, actually realizes that they're getting paid less, being rewarded less for their hard work and sacrifice.
Yeah.
And not only that, service members.
I think that's what terrifies the authoritarian left so much about America First, because we've become the party of the working class and the party of the middle class. We're the ones that say, hey, we want people to have a job. We want them to have their dignity and their individual sovereignty. I think that terrifies the left because they're seeing that awakening. That's what actually was so dangerous about Donald Trump, because Trump was like, I can make your guys' wages rise. I can put our country first. You don't need to play with this. You don't need to play by this system that has done absolutely nothing but failure. And that's why I think you've seen the left shift their focus so much to all these racial issues and critical race theory, because anytime they want to saddle us with more debt or do job killing economic policies, they have to distract from that, and they have to keep the racists fighting.
How do you convince somebody who works at BuzzFeed for high 5 figures that they're actually worse off than the construction worker making $25 an hour? How do you convince them? Oh, race. You make it about race and intersectionality.
Yep.
And so there you go. They've redefined the conflict so that they can keep people voting for them, convinced they're the saviors.
Yep.
When in reality, these New York, liberal types who are in their 20s, man, I'll tell you, when I first walked into that Vice building, I started working at Vice, and the job I had before that, I was working in nonprofits, and I was getting a real base salary. Before that, I used to work at O'Hare Airport, and I was loading bags.
Yeah.
$10 an hour. Eventually made $11 an hour, lifting about 50,000 pounds per day to load these planes. and it was hard work, and people got hurt, and in order to pay for their families, to fund their families, some people work double shifts all day, every day. And then I walk into Vice and I see these people just like sitting back. They got like booze on their table. They got whiskey. They're drinking. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, chilling. And I'm like, you're getting paid like $50,000 a year. Not all of them. Vice was notoriously paid not that well, but a lot of these people were getting like 35 to 50, and they were doing nothing.
Yeah.
Relatively nothing. They did something. They'd get emails from people saying, here's a story, and they'd be like, cool. And they'd take it, and then they'd put it on the site. And like, some people wouldn't even show up for work. And I'm like, so it's true, man. You move to New York City, you can get a do-nothing job that pays really, really well. How long until the people who are actually doing the labor that supports this country, how long until they say, hey, wait a minute, why am I making stuff for you and you don't do anything? There is an issue, I suppose, because people say, hey, the market pays what the market's going to pay. But then you look at how the policies of the left are functioning today. Joe Biden's just taxing the working class through inflation, and then giving money to people in cities who aren't working. Yeah. At a certain point, people are going to say, nah.
Yeah.
Once they start getting hungry, for sure. I think when the technology is like broad enough that you can communicate, you can establish like pockets of resistance for the workers to defy like the white collar oligarchy. But we need to figure out a system that solves for that, because throughout time, the workers have been rising up and overthrowing the government and creating a revolution that then they become the new oligarchy and then produce another form of tyranny that another group of workers have to rise up and overthrow. So like building a decentralized system where there's no oligarchy. I think that's got to be the only way.
Yeah, I think getting rid of our political classes is the key, because we can vote. We have elections. We should be able to do this, but we've just fallen into this two-party system, and the two parties have just pretty much done the same thing, which is screw over the working class. So that's why, I think you saw the establishment on both sides, left and right, go after a guy so heavily like Donald Trump, because imagine if there was more Donald Trumps, we could disrupt the entire system and really put it back on a footing where the working class people actually had a chance.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.